Welcome to the Healing for Male Survivors podcast. This is a podcast for male survivors of sexual abuse and assault, whether as a child or as an adult. Know that you are not alone and the abuse was not your fault. My name is Mike Chapman. I'm a certified recovery life coach and also a survivor. Let's find hope and healing together. And welcome to the Healing for Male Survivors podcast. I'm your host, Mike Chapman, and with me today is Forrest Lang. More about him in a moment. And we are here live. If you would like to join us on future live podcasts, you can learn more about how to do so at polarlifeconsulting.com/live. And a reminder for those who are here live, we honor anonymity and we will only state your name if you manually enter it in with your question or comment. And let me introduce you to Forrest. Forrest Lang is a tattoo artist, best-selling author, combat veteran, international speaker, and child safety advocate. He is also a survivor of family-controlled sex trafficking in childhood. He lives in La Jolla, California, with his family. And so we're going to start things off, like we do most weeks, with 4 questions. Now it's time for 4 questions, that part of the podcast when we get to know our guest a bit better by asking a few questions. Let's go. So, Forrest, what is your favorite food memory?
A few years ago, I was at the grocery store and I was about to swipe my card to pay for groceries. And I realized that I was not concerned if there would be enough money for groceries. Then I realized that I couldn't remember how long it had been since the last time was that I was concerned that I wouldn't have enough money for groceries. And it was an impactful moment for me to know that I could feed myself and my family without worrying.
Very profound, yes. Yeah, that hits me hard as well, you saying that, because of my own experience. Didn't have to go without too much. We were on food stamps after my father left for a while, but didn't struggle that much with food. But as an adult, horrible with finances, all kinds of messed up thinking, and we were always struggling with money and always going to Walmart. And it's like, or the grocery store. And it's like, okay, is it going to go through? Is it going to bounce? And then we have to put all the food back or whatever. And that's happened so many times. And now I'm doing pretty well. And that's not an issue. I mean, if that doesn't work, I've got several backup methods and so forth. So I'm good. But I still catch myself putting that card in. It's like, no, we're good. No, we're good. We're okay. This is okay. So, but yeah, I still catch myself with that. Yeah. Wow, impactful. So, what is your favorite Christmas or holiday memory?
This last Christmas, holidays in the past have been difficult for me because of strong negative memories and associations of abandonment. And I struggled a lot with the holidays. This last Christmas, I have become most of the time bigger than the memories and the traumas. And I'm able to offer myself fully to my loved ones and contribute and focus on contribution to the day instead of the negativity that I had associated with those days before. And that was a long process, but this last Christmas was awesome.
Excellent. And now you've got that upcoming bundle of joy that you knew about in Christmas, because you're very, very pregnant. Due with your wife.
Yes, we are. We're inducing labor today, this evening.
Oh, and yeah, and you knew about it at Christmas, so I'm sure that made it extra special too, knowing you have this bundle of joy coming soon. And yeah, so in case we have to cut this short and we come back another day and finish it up and we're wearing different outfits, you'll know why.
And maybe I could, just in case, I'll wash this T-shirt or just change it.
That's right. Yeah. And then come back with a mustache or something. That'd be funny. Yeah. So, what is your favorite scripture or any inspirational quote that has helped you on your spiritual journey, and what about it speaks to you?
My favorite spiritual quote is by a guy named Hillel the Elder. And it goes, if I'm not for myself, who will be? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when. I don't take care of myself, who's going to? And if I'm
Absolutely.
only focused on myself, what am I? What am I contributing? And the time is now. Life is happening now. It's not happening last week. It's not happening next week.
Right.
And now is where joy is. And there's other stuff now too, but I spent so much time trying to avoid the present in my life because it
Right.
was uncomfortable. And I learned to become present and face what was uncomfortable. And beyond that is joy.
Right. It reminds me of something I've learned just in my own profession. I'm normally an interpreter, and back in the day, I would do different platform events at conferences. And I learned after this event, okay, no one is going to look out for my own safety other than me. I was on a little platform on the floor in front of the stage, and they had one of those boom camera things that on a crane right above and beside me, trying to do the little sweeping shots or whatever. And they did one angle, they forgot I was down there, and they were like this close to the top of my head, and if they were a little bit further down it would have been very, very dangerous. And then someone realized, oh crap, we need to move that guy. And so yeah, the next day I was moved to the other side of the stage. But I learned, okay, I need to be concerned about my own safety. No one else is going to care enough to be worried about that.
Mm.
And I've carried that on, that in life, not only physical safety when I'm out doing work, but also for my own safety, whatever I need, the mental health, whatever, that no one else is going to give it to me. I
Hmm.
need to make sure that I get what I need because no one else is going to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And that very much reminded me of that. So, what is your favorite church or house of worship memory?
A few weeks ago, I did a talk in Scotland at the Paisley Abbey, and that's a 800-year-old cathedral.
Yes.
And my ancestors had been there. Their names were on the wall, and
Wow.
I got to give a talk that I believe will change the world for the better.
Excellent. Was this the TED Talk that I've heard you being involved with?
Yeah, it was a TEDx event. It was TEDx UWS.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Yes. Is it already out
Yes.
there? Right. Wow. Exciting. Proud of you. That's
Thank you, brother.
wonderful. And it was in the church where you have that family history there as
Hmm.
well. Wow. That's impressive. Did you include that in your talk at all? That of
No,
where it was? No. You
no,
should have. That would have been cool. But yeah.
I just delivered I was there for one purpose:
Yeah. Understand.
to eliminate and eradicate a mentality that encourages, enables, and empowers child predators.
Right. Absolutely. And
Common mentality.
that leads us right into your story. You do so much advocacy work. You're on TikTok and Reels. I don't do TikTok, but I've got Facebook, and Facebook has Reels. And it was so funny. I mean, I already know you. We were at the SOAP Project retreat for male trafficking survivors, where we met Brandon as well, who's been on the podcast. I had no idea you did that video content, and I'm just scrolling up, and with all the Epstein files, all that stuff going on, that's been something I've been clicking on and liking or whatever, how they're fighting all that. And you show up in my feed. It's like, whoa, I know that guy. Oh wow. And then I'm like looking, and then I subscribe, and then I get all the other stuff on my feed. So yeah, I get a little bit of Forrest every day.
Oh,
And yeah, you've got great content and how
thank you,
you talk
brother.
about issues and struggles, especially as a male, and all of you, you enjoyed it, all this stuff is
Yeah. Well, especially the part that involves the person who betrayed me and took what was left of my childhood at 12 years old and then tried to take away my life when I was 16 when they find out that that person was a woman.
right.
That
Yeah.
goes against the narrative of extreme male dominance
Right.
and
Right.
makes it ruffles feathers. There's a belief that it's sad that a significant portion of our population believes that that's not only okay, but encourages
Right. Right.
and shames and belittles and silences the children who are experiencing that and the adults who have experienced that.
Right. Right.
because men who do that to children aren't good people, and women who do that to children aren't good people. Little girls deserve to grow up with body autonomy intact, and little boys deserve to grow up with body autonomy intact, regardless of genders of perpetrators and survivors.
Right. Absolutely. And that goes against the narrative that, yes, boys can be victims and women can be perpetrators, both buyers and sellers. And I know a lot
Hmm.
of those who are in family controlled trafficking, oftentimes it's female family members who are either solely or involved in the selling of their younger family members of those victims.
I
And
think that
that
I
goes
think it comes
unknown.
down to an old misunderstanding too about biology. There still remains a belief under the surface that women don't enjoy sex and they just do that for solely for men's pleasure, that
Right.
that's all they're there for.
Right.
And it falls into just some old thinking that is incorrect.
Right. Absolutely.
Also, some misunderstanding about child exploitation. Some people think that that's about biology or about the sexual act, which it is not. It's about power,
Right.
control, and stealing and evil.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go back, start at the beginning. Let me know about your history, however much you want to share, of how you ended up in this world. And I'm so sorry this thing's happened to you, but I'm so glad that you are part of my journey and have been.
Don't be sorry, brother. Rejoice. We're here speaking for those
That's
without a
right.
voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me know how that's gone. And then I would love to know more about your healing journey, what things you've tried that have worked, what things you've tried that haven't worked. And then more about you and all the wonderful things you are doing above becoming dad for the second time. Yes. Excellent. So, yes, tell us more about Forrest.
My very earliest memories are of exploitation. I got left in a lot of places when I was younger. My mother suffered from mental illness, and there was a family history, and I didn't know who my father was until I was 42 years old.
Wow. You're how old?
I'm 48.
So this 6 years ago. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes it can take a while to unpack what happened.
Right.
And my earliest memories are of being engaged in child pornography as a very young child.
Engaged as in them filming you.
Yes. Yeah, them filming me. And there was a man and a woman there in some dingy tan apartment. Experienced physical and mental and emotional abuse from my biological mother and sexual abuse from my older sibling. My mother married my stepfather when I was 5 or 6, and I also experienced severe physical abuse from my stepfather. And I lived in a poor neighborhood. There was scarcity of food and new clothing and basic needs, scarcity of toys. There was unusual behavior around toys, i.e., me wanting a He-Man Masters of the Universe figurine, and my mother showing me a He-Man Masters of the Universe figurine and playing with it herself. I don't know what the intent was, but what it made me feel was a longing for toys and normalcy and love. And at the same time, I love my mother very much. And she told me that I was her joy baby and she loved me very much and she was sorry. But I don't think that she was capable of being a stable parent, a stable, loving parent. And I'm not making any excuses for her. We have no contact today. Was afraid all the time. And I found solace in books. I had a library card and I got a paper route when I was 9 years old, and so I had a little money. And my best childhood memories involve books. I like to collect the money for my paper route, go to the corner store and get a whole bag of atomic fireballs. I think they were a penny a piece or 5 cents a piece, and a big bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and a 2 liter of cherry Pepsi and climb into the attic of our garage to my dusty pile of hidden books. And there I went on adventures, and nobody could hurt me. Nobody could hit me. Nobody yelled at me. Nobody molested me. And I went on some grand adventures in the
Wow.
attic of
Yeah.
our garage.
So that was your safe space. Yeah.
It was. And I still love to read.
Hmm. Yeah.
When I was 10, I was old enough to stop my brother from doing what he was doing. And I started to realize more and more that they were wrong, that the church we went to was not healthy, that it wasn't normal and healthy to experience physical, sexual, verbal, emotional abuse, neglect, and abandonment, that my situation was not good. And I started running away. And the first time I ran away, I just went to the park. And by the time I was 12 years old, I ran away consistently, and Child Protective Services got involved. And I had met somebody that I thought cared about me. I thought loved me, and I thought was a good person. And I began running away to this person's house. And this person bought me clothes, sodas and snacks, good food, so that I could come over there whenever I wanted to. And I kept running away to go over to that house. And eventually, my biological mother was going through a divorce and disappearing for weeks at a time, and agreed to let me stay and live with that person and that person's family. Now, what that person did wasn't about love. It wasn't about biology or intimacy. What that person did was about power and control. That person did things like give me cigarettes every hour on the hour. So I was not only dependent on that person for food, shelter, a basic need, but the feeling of, somebody hugging me and
Right.
telling me they cared about me and wouldn't let
Right.
anyone hurt me anymore. But
So how old were you
physically
at this
addicted,
point?
12 years old. I was just grateful that there was nobody hitting me anymore, that there was regular food, that I felt safe. I could watch TV. I wasn't allowed to watch TV in my biological home because anything that wasn't from the Bible was satanic. It was like that weird right wing Christian nationalist, racist Christianity. And that brand of extremism is unhealthy for anybody. And it was also unhealthy for me. And I didn't like it. I wanted to listen to Skid Row and Guns N' Roses. And I wanted to watch The Simpsons and
No, not The
engage
Simpsons.
in normal social behavior, and cult- uh, be exposed to normal pop culture and people. I didn't want to be isolated in that place where I just didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. It
Right.
felt scary. I was scared
Yeah.
all the time.
Can't
And when I
imagine
entered,
why. Yeah.
I used to sleep with my shoes on because I wanted to be ready to get away just in case my mother came to get me. Now, that person applied to be my foster parent. And then that person started the process of grooming and sexual exploitation in pretty standard ways with pornography and, light touching and that kind of stuff. It's developed into something dark. And that person was also a drug dealer. And a lady came over to buy some cocaine and saw the pedophile performing a sexual act on me and called the police. And the police came. My mother came and picked me up and drove me to Palmdale. She had moved to Palmdale in the midst of me not living with her, and told me she was going to send me to Arizona to be with some Christians who were going to set me straight. And if there's younger viewers, back then there were no cell phones. The telephone was an actual physical object in the house with a cord that went into the wall. And my mother, after she drove me to Palmdale, she took the telephone and locked it in her room so I couldn't make any calls. And I left the house in Lake Los Angeles and started walking. And I must have walked, because I became familiar with that area later, for about maybe a mile. But it felt like a long time to me as a scared 12-year-old with my Sony Walkman and my music in my ears. And I hid in a ditch whenever a car came by,
Hmm.
but I couldn't find a store. It was just desert and pitch black. But I figured out how to get back to the house. So I tried to run away and then felt that I couldn't. The next day, my mother drove me to LAX and put me on an airplane. And there was a layover in Las Vegas. And I got off of the airplane. I had my ticket for my next flight to Phoenix. I don't know why there was a flight from LAX to Vegas to Phoenix. Maybe it was a cheaper flight. And I walked out past the baggage claim. I walked out of the airport and I kept walking until I found a payphone. And I called that drug dealer, who was a woman, by the way. And that's the part of my story that many people have an issue with and take issue with, that I must have liked it or I must have enjoyed it or there must not be anything wrong because it was a woman pedophile. So um, not 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 good people, just people that are asleep and follow social narratives.
Right.
I called, the pedophile got me a taxi, paid for a limo to take me to the bus station and bought me a bus ticket. And I got on the bus and I used to wear like these skull rings. I was really obsessed with the skull spiked rings back then. And I was growing my hair long and I tucked my hair under my cutoff vest and took off my rings. And I was sitting next to this old man on the bus. And he looks at me and he goes, "How long you been on the run, kid?" And I was like, "I'm not on the run." He goes, "Don't worry." He goes, I'm not going to tell anybody." He goes, "I can see you took your rings off. You got your hair tucked in. How long you been on the run?" And I was just like, didn't want to talk to him. He's like, "It's okay." I was really nonverbal back then. I didn't like to talk a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a safety factor as well. So, what do you think drove you to call her since
I
you
wanted a
just
cigarette.
got rescued from that?
I wanted a cigarette. I wanted somebody there that I thought cared about me. I was grateful for
Mm,
the attention and love. I didn't know it wasn't real. I was 12. I didn't
right.
understand that.
And even though the bad stuff was happening, there was all of this grooming behavior that looked like there was the care and the love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So I went back to Oxnard on the bus, Oxnard, California. That person picked, the drug dealer picked me up and brought me to another friend's house. And I hid out for a while. And the drug dealer pedophile continued the application to be a foster parent. And I started going to children's court and I saw many different judges. I went to children's court for about a year and I eventually started staying in a group home. And in the group home, they didn't buy us any clothes. They didn't give us good food and snacks. There was a lock on the refrigerator. There were loveless people who I knew didn't give a shit about me. And if you were good, you got points. And if you had enough points, like maybe 30 points or something at the end of the week, you could get a prize from this box that they kept locked up. It was like a chest. And I was always in trouble and I didn't get no points. And so I never got a treat. And that's one of the things that makes me feel rich today. Is I can go to 7-Eleven, I can get me an almond joy anytime I fucking want to. Fuck those people. You know? I'm rich. I'm successful. And eventually we ended up back in children's court. There was a new judge and new counsel. And the way it was set up, it really felt like me against them because there was counsel for the state and for my mother. And then there was representation for me. The way, I don't know if children's court is the same way for abused kids now, but it was the same. I sat next to the kids who were stealing cars and robbing people. It was just all the same. And we were all juvenile delinquents. It didn't make a difference if you were there because you got molested or if you were there because you killed somebody. The court treated us all the same. And
Right.
the
Yeah.
institutions treated us all the same.
It's getting much better. In fact, there's this concept that I've just now learned about, the child advocacy centers, which is a weird name because it doesn't really explain what they do, but they are there for children who are in the court system because a case is being prosecuted and the child is a victim of abuse or trafficking, and they're there to help with the whole
They
process.
didn't, they didn't prosecute anybody in my case. Their goal was reunification with my mother. And I didn't
Right.
want that.
Right.
I didn't want to be back with her. I was afraid to go back with her. And we went to court one day, and I had been being good and not running away from the group home. And a judge pulled me into her chambers and she said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "I want to go with this person, the drug dealer pedophile." And because judges are not required to read documents of abused children before they place them back into a situation where there's been complaints, that judge didn't even read it, didn't even know. And she said, "Fine, you're placed there." permanently. The family went to McDonald's to celebrate, and that person became my foster parent and legal guardian. And when I entered high school, that person began to become, the pedophile began to become jealous of me and my time and girls I was talking to. I wasn't allowed to talk to girls. I
Mm.
wanted to go to the drive-in with the boys I met in high school. No, insanely jealous. And
Wow.
the rest of her family was in denial and just took the explanation that she was overprotective of her son. Now, her daughters were allowed to go here and there. So, like Friday night, I wanted to go over to hang out with the boys that I met at school, but Friday night was our night. So, her two daughters went to their friend's house. Her husband went over to his buddy's house to work on his model trains, and I had to stay there. And I started to feel again unsafe and trapped, and I didn't want to do this. And there was a lot of manipulation, gaslighting, and guilt. People who are predatorial to children are very good at exercising and lording power over their victims. So much of the abuse and manipulation was not physical. There was not much physical forcing of anything. There was mental manipulation, which is why children can't consent. That's why children
Right.
are off limits.
Right.
Eventually, by the time I was 16 years old, I wasn't allowed to eat food. I wasn't allowed to sleep in the house sometimes. I had a pretty good drinking problem and I had a cutting problem. And that person tried to take away my life in a motor vehicle.
Wow. Wow.
And I don't like going into very specific details about it because it gets me
Yeah.
shaky.
I understand. Yeah.
But that person had intended to take away my life in a murder suicide by driving off a cliff, and I was able
Wow.
to get away. I walked for a long time. I was 16. I weighed 105 pounds. I was addicted. I was hopeless. I was depressed and now homeless. And I made my way back to that foster home and waited until there were no adult cars there. And I snuck in and packed a duffel bag. I put an extra pair of pants, 3 shirts, 3 sets of underwear, and I put on my boots and threw my sneakers in the bag. And I stepped out and over the threshold of that home for the last time.
Mm.
And though I didn't know it at the time, I took control of my life at that
Mm.
moment
Yeah.
at 16 years old. And from that moment on, I created the direction of my life.
Wow.
And this is not anywhere about what should be or what ought to be or what I wish things were. That's just the truth.
Right.
And I created poverty, addiction, chaos, and violence for many years
Sure.
afterwards,
Right.
unknowingly.
Let me circle back. The female drug dealer person who got the custody of you.
The pedophile, yeah.
Yes, she did. What she successful, for lack of a better word, of killing herself, or it was just an attempt and just
No, just an attempt to get me.
okay. So she was still out there. Okay. All right. Yes.
I was afraid that she would come try to get me and do it again. So I didn't go to school. I didn't go to the hospital. I avoided the police. I didn't tell anybody what happened. I just wanted to get away. The very first night, I slept outside on a bench and I was cold and I was sad and I felt alone. And the next day, I went over to my friend's house to ask if I could take a shower. I walked a few miles to his house, and his mom said I could stay there whenever I needed. My other friend, his parents had died and he'd become emancipated. He said I could stay with him.
Nice.
And so I bounced between different places for the next year or so, very rarely slept outside. I was fortunate to have good friends.
Nice.
I did get really sick one time, and my friends didn't realize the severity of what I was running from because I didn't tell them.
Mm.
And I got an ear infection and I started to get very sick. One of my friends stole a car. We drove up to Sacramento to hang out with my other friend's brother. And we were just drinking all weekend. I think I was 16, 17. And when we came back, I was very sick and there were streaks coming from my ear
Yeah.
down here and everything was very swollen and I became lethargic. And so my friends brought me to the emergency room and I was in an area with a curtain around me and an IV in my arm and a couple of my friends were there and my foster mom showed up.
Mm.
The hospital called her because she was my legal
Right.
guardian.
Right. Yeah.
I mumbled to my friends that I thought she was going to hurt me. She stepped away to go to the bathroom or something. My friends pulled the IV out of my arm and stuck me out of the hospital and brought me to my best friend's house, who was the most stable family there.
Mm.
I don't remember this. I only know this because my friends told me. But
Wow.
I
So
was
you
on the
got out of
couch.
it.
I was on the couch with a rag on my forehead, and Mrs. Lopez was giving me some medicine, putting medicine on my ear. My foster mom showed up at their house, and she would tear into a driveway looking for me and honk her horn and scream. She was just a really like ugly person, and she's pounding on the door. I know he's here. You give him to me. Where is he? And I had not once heard Mrs. Lopez yell. I had known her since junior high.
Right.
David was my best friend, her son, and she was very mild mannered. She taught Sunday school at the Christian school, just very sweet all the time and quiet. And just pedophile wasn't going to leave, and Mrs. Lopez wasn't going to let her have me.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even know. She didn't know the whole story. She
Right.
just knew I was afraid. And her son said that I was afraid. And she reared up like a mama bear, said, "So help me God, you fucking bitch. If you don't get the fuck off my porch, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. He's not here." And then she pushed that fucking pedophile off the porch. And the
Wow.
pedophile left. And Mrs. Lopez saved my life.
Wow. Good
And
for her. Wow.
that was a close one. That was close. And eventually, my buddy I got a job at Sears. I'd been working at a movie theater when I was still living in a house, in a regular house, but
Mm.
I needed more money. So I got a job at Sears. And wherever I was, I would get to work however I could at 5 in the morning.
Right.
And I had like an old bicycle that I left places. And because I was riding around the cars with friends, at night, I just hung out all the time because
Right.
what else are you going to do? And stay drunk as much as I could. I rode this bicycle to work. I worked from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. stocking shelves. And dude, I seen some girls I knew from high school shopping with their parents. I've seen people I knew, and I hid. I hid from them because I was dirty. I was skinny. I was ashamed.
Mm.
I didn't want them to even see me. I was humiliated by my circumstances. I was hopeless, and I didn't feel like I had any value at all. And the only time I felt all right is when I was drinking. And
Right.
even then, if I drank, that was hit or miss. Like one of my friends, because boys are hard on each other. They'd be, "Oh, Forrest is being a little bitch again," because I would just get completely catatonic and drunk and not want to talk to anybody and just zone out.
Mm.
And
Right.
that that one friend was a little bit older. I was like 16, 17. He was like 21, 22. We knew each other from work, and he started taking me jogging. He's like, "Forrest, you are gonna go jogging with me. We are gonna start jogging." And I started jogging real slow, and eventually I got up to where I was running like 5 miles. And
Nice.
he made sure I ate food. Other people made sure I had places to sleep and food to eat. And by the time I was 18 years old, I was up to 140 pounds. People get tired, man. Like, doesn't matter how sad the story is. It's hard to take care of someone else's kid, especially an alcoholic, out of control, violent, crazy kid. And
Right.
I was running out of places to stay. And my biological mom drove up in the parking lot while I was on break at work one time. And she said she had
Wow.
been looking for me for years. She said
Mm.
she just would go there and drive around looking for me, and that she was different and life was good. And she said something about like spending a lot of money on gas, and I gave her $40 and she took it. Like,
Wow. That's messed up. Yeah.
but like, I didn't know. And she'd gone back to college and became a school teacher, and she was teaching in the LA County School District. And I went and lived with her for a little while. And then she kicked me out. And now I'm in fucking Palmdale, nowhere to go, and I got to leave. And so I joined the Navy.
Mm.
And that I went to LA MEPS. I got approved to go. I stayed at some hospital or some hotel in downtown Los Angeles the night before. Got on a bus, drove to the airport, flew, and it got on another bus and was at Great Lakes, Illinois Naval Training Center. And it was pretty uncomfortable. I didn't sleep really. I don't think the first couple days we were just doing processing. But when I got with my division and we started training, that was the first time in my life that I was absolutely certain I knew where my next meal was coming from, and I knew where I was going to sleep that night.
Wow.
And as an adult, like as the person who's on my own post 16 last foster home,
Right.
and I really had a strong love-hate relationship. I loved it. I felt safe, but I hated the rules, and I hated myself, and it was not like that. I wish there was like a some kind of thing people can do to come out of situations like that. And all of a sudden you ride off into the sunset and everything's all better. And that wasn't my experience.
Right.
I was designated as a hospital corpsman, and by the time I was in San Diego and I finished with field medical service school, I weighed 190 pounds and I was in the best shape I'd ever been in my life. I wasn't tired. I had lots of energy. I felt strong, and I just wanted to leave all that ugly shit behind. I didn't want anyone to know about the dirty, skinny, homeless, addicted teenager that I was. I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to move forward with my life, be a good hospital corpsman, and be successful and do my time in the military and go to college and move to the suburbs and get a wife and have 2 kids and a car in the driveway. And that was my dream. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist, and the drinking caught up with me pretty young. I had a flashback while working in the hospital. A nurse wanted me to give a suppository to a male patient,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to do it. And the nurse was like, "You're going to." And, in the military, like when you get an order from an officer, you either do it or you go to jail and get in
Right.
trouble and get kicked out and have bad things happen to your life and career, right?
Right.
So I went into that patient's room, I charted, and I gave the suppository. And I successfully forgot most of the things that happened to me by then. Drinking's a hell of a good anesthetic and
Right.
helps with the memories.
Right.
And I didn't understand why or what was wrong with me, but my body started to physically shake and I started to weep. And here I am, 190 pounds in this pressed uniform with squared away, right? And
Hmm.
I'm melting down. And I ducked into an empty patient room and I just hit the floor like this and disassociated. And the nurse came in the room. I remember her asking what was wrong with me from very far away. And then a chaplain came in, and the chaplain walked me to my barracks room, and I went to bed. But I had to go see a therapist because there was something wrong with me.
Obviously.
So
Right. Yeah.
I started going to therapy once a week. And this therapist was like a movie, like frazzled hair, probably too many patients and busy and, papers and charts and shit all over the desk. But we started
Right.
talking, and she straight up started asking me about my past that I didn't want to talk about. And over time, I eventually disclosed to her. And then she did what I was afraid people would do as a mandated reporter. She immediately picked up the phone and made a phone call to the San Diego Police Department. And they told this therapist that I needed to go to Oxnard and file a police report. And I had to, right? Like, we, this patient, your chain of command says that you have to go do this. So you'll take this
Wow.
day, you will drive up there and you will go report. And so I drove up to Oxnard. I didn't know how to do that. I walked into the police station. There's a cop standing in the hallway and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I need to make a police report." And he said, "About what?" I said, "Well, I got molested in foster care from 12 to 16. He goes, "Well, by who?" I go, "My foster mom." And he goes, "Okay." And he gets his paper, and there's this other guy standing there, and he's like, right now, he's like, "Why'd you wait to tell us until now?" And I'm like, I don't know." The other guys, "What'd she look like?" And the other one goes, "Yeah, was she good looking?" And I was like, I just gave them a description of her, and they're like, "Okay, thank you." That was it. That was it, dude. 5 minutes. And I walked out, drove back down to San Diego, and never heard a fucking thing from those
Hmm.
cops. And I continued to engage in therapy, and I was experiencing a lot of depression. And I had to go see another doctor. It was a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist put me on a medicine. And the doctor said, "Well, you can't drink on this medicine." And I was like, "Sure, no problem." I was in complete denial that I was an alcoholic.
Right.
And I think I managed to not drink for 3 or 4 days on this medicine.
Yeah.
And I went out with some friends to Tijuana without the intention of drinking and got piss drunk and came back across the border and had a psychotic break. And I punched a San Ysidro police officer who was just trying to calm me down. And then I had to wait for Shore Patrol to pick me up. Shore Patrol brought me back to Balboa Hospital where I was working, and I got an ARI, which is an alcohol related incident. It's not like it's a
Not
big
like a,
deal in the military.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
not supposed to get alcohol related incidents. And I ended up back with a therapist who did another evaluation of the drinking, and she kind of yelled at me. She told me not to bullshit her. I came clean with how much I was drinking, which was like maybe a 30 a night.
mm,
I was getting to a place where I needed hard alcohol first in order to enjoy my beers. And so they sent me to a 30-day inpatient rehab center. And I did the rehab. I started going to 12-step meetings. I went to the prescribed 3 a week. I was still struggling with this depression.
right,
And I was in a relationship I didn't want to be in. I didn't like her. I stayed with her because she told me she'd kill herself if I left. It's totally unhealthy.
yeah,
And I finally broke up with this girl, and I decided that AA and those therapists were my problem. I started drinking again, and things spiraled once again and got worse.
right,
And then I met a group of sober people my age who were vulnerable. I met my friend Thomas, and Thomas had also been molested in foster care
mm,
and understood the wound. He was my same exact age, but 3 years more sober than me. We were both 23. And he started to take me through the 12 steps in a way that I could understand and I could do business with. And even though I got very offended by things that he would say, like, bro, you are so incredibly selfish. It's difficult for you to think about anyone but yourself, isn't it? And I didn't like hearing that. I didn't like hearing the truth. When a wounded dog is backed into a corner, it bites. And that was me, a wounded dog.
yeah,
And then he would say at the same time, well, I understand, Forrest, and I love you. And I know this because I was also suffering from extreme self centeredness because I was also hurt. And this is what we do. This is the way that we get free of that. And I did all 12 steps with him. I started to experience peace, joy, freedom. And when I had 4 months sober, me and that man were playing with a firearm, and the firearm acted unloaded. And we were jokesters. We used to like to take a lot of risks and play and have fun. There was this giant group of sober young people that we hung out with, even to the point of, you know, one person driving and another person covering their eyes and a third
mm,
person directing where to go, when to brake, and when to speed up.
right,
Just stupid, risk taking, youth, stupid behavior. And me and Thomas were playing with that gun. And that gun acted unloaded, although that doesn't take off responsibility from the situation. There was a malfunction. And the worst decision I ever made in my life, I pointed that gun at my friend Thomas and I pulled the trigger, and the loudest bang I ever heard in my life followed. There was a hole in my friend's head, and all the bad things that happened beyond that happened. I had already gotten out of the Navy. I was going to art school, and my world ended. And I gave Thomas CPR, and I called 911, and the police came. They allowed me to continue doing CPR. And when the paramedics came, they made me let go of him. They pried my hand off of his head, and when I did, the rest of his head came out. And there, I even though like I knew he was gone, I was still hanging on to this insane hope that maybe they could fix it. And I went to the back of a police car. Cops didn't even handcuff me, and I punched myself in the head until I passed out.
mm,
And then I came to on the ride to the police station. The sun was coming up. I entered the police station and went into an interrogation room, and a detective sat with me. We went over the day over and over and over, everything that happened. And eventually she left the room and came back in and said, I'm so sorry to tell you this, Forrest, but your friend Thomas has passed away. And at this time, I need to advise you of the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you, and the rest of whatever she said. And I am placing you under arrest for the murder of Thomas Ogden. And I went through all the rest of the processing. I have flash memories of it, like a picture of a knife with someone saying, "Is this your evidence?" So, like, I guess somebody lost evidence and was trying to identify it. a group of students in a room teaching them how to pull strands of hair for DNA,
Mm.
entering my cell, laying down on a plastic mattress, exhausted, and I fell asleep and I stayed asleep for a few days.
Mm.
And when I woke up, went down and had something to eat, I found a book to read and I realized that my life was over. And I felt a strange relief that the worst sense of impending doom was realized
Wow.
and that I was going to be in a cell for the rest of my life and that it was over now. And that's not the way it went. One of our friends' parents bailed me out of jail, and another friend's mother stepped in as mine. My biological mother did come down to see me and in front of this woman said, "Well, Forrest, I don't know when you're going to stop all this ridiculousness and get back to school." And that sentence said so much about my situation that my friend's mother stepped in and befriended my attorney, made sure I had clothes for court, made sure I got to court on time, made sure I had a place to live. And a year later, they offered me a deal. And the deal was say I did it on purpose, plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, and do 10 years. And I didn't want to, I told the truth. I told the truth about that incident. And I was unwilling to lie to save myself from the possibility of 35 to life. And I didn't care. I didn't care if I went to prison for the rest of my life. I didn't have any value of my life. I felt I deserved to go to prison. And the self hate was very strong. The self harm was strong. Went from cutting to punching, and disassociation and not caring about my life. We ended up going to trial because I wouldn't take the deal and sign the paper. And my trial was a week long, and the jury deliberated for 3 hours and came back with not guilty on every count.
Mm. Wow.
And that prosecutor walked up to me after the trial as I was leaving the courtroom and asked me if there's anything that I thought she could have done better. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, you could have told the truth." Because she tried to paint me as some bad person, some evil person with intent. And I believe that if she would have just focused on negligence, whether it was intentional or not, she probably could have got a conviction for involuntary manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
But she wanted to shoot for the stars and get a felony homicide conviction on her record. And unfortunately, that's just the way the court systems are.
Right.
Unfortunately, when somebody causes accidental death with a firearm, it's automatically criminalized. Whereas if somebody causes accidental death with a vehicle or with a piece of equipment, it is not automatically criminalized. That's just the way our society and culture is. Now, after the trial, I was homeless and I went to LA to be near the art center because I just figured I would go near somewhere where I wanted to be. And then my girlfriend died in a car crash in
Wow.
January of '03, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were in full swing. I did not have a criminal conviction, and I decided that I wanted to go back into the military and die in the war, saving someone else. And so I reenlisted. I was already in the inactive ready reserves, which lasts for 8 years after any enlistment. So all I needed to do is simple is reaffiliate and volunteer for extension. And in 2004, I deployed with an outstanding group of infantry Marines to northern Iraq. And instead of dying, those guys absolutely rebuilt me from the ground up. And I
So
didn't
were
think
you
that they
now
knew.
in the Marines instead of the Navy, or you
Nope,
were
I was
it was
still in
some
the Navy.
affiliate?
So,
Okay.
so the Marine Corps is part of the Navy. They don't like to admit that, but they don't have their own medics and they don't have their own chaplains. So they don't have their own doctors. So whenever you see medical personnel with the Marine Corps, those are sailors. They will tell, like the Marines I was with said, "Hey, brother, you earned the title. You wear the Eagle Globe and Anchor. You're a Marine, as far as I'm concerned, right?" But that's a very compartmentalized thing. So I was in the Navy, right? To them, I was a Marine, and I'm proud of that title, very proud. But I don't utilize it myself, and you'll find many Navy medics are the same. So I didn't think they knew about the accident, and I didn't find out till many years later that they did. They knew. The upper leadership knew, and still took me on. They were reservists, very outstanding group of human beings. And while I was there, the reason it got let slide that the guys wanted to pitch in and get me tattoo equipment was because of the hard time that I had afterwards. And my commanding officer and my company first sergeant gave a shit about me. And they were like, this guy's going nowhere. We know he's probably here just trying to off himself. It's probably not going to happen. And let's give him a reason to live. And they let me tattoo, which breaks about 2,000 Marine Corps regulations to tattoo in a combat zone. And what my CO said to me, he said, look, we're going to let you guys do this. All the boys pitched in. We built a little tattoo shack. And he said, if anybody finds out about it, it's fucking done. Anybody outside of this company knows about it, you're done. It never happened. And if anybody gets an infection, it's done. Over. And so neither one of those things happened. And I tattooed almost my entire company in between
Wow.
patrols during most of 2004. And I came home from the war and I decided that I probably wasn't going to die, I had a reason to live. I had this tattooing thing that made everything else go away, and I could just lose myself in art, and I could make a living being an artist, and that gave me some hope for my future. And maybe it's okay just to be a good tattoo artist. I don't need to take care of myself or care about myself, but I can care about that. And then on December 29th of 2005, my daughter was born. And when she came out of the womb, I made eye contact with her and I absolutely fucking fell in love. And
Oh,
I had another person to live for. I had something to live for and create for, and somebody to take care of, and somebody who depended on me, and somebody
yeah.
who taught me what unconditional, unbreakable, beautiful love was.
Mm, yeah.
I grabbed onto that. And I committed myself with honor to my trade and committed myself with honor to being a father. Those are the only two things I committed to.
Yeah. Had something similar with my own daughter when she was born. It's just that profound thing, knowing, yeah, that helped on my own healing journey, being a father. Absolutely.
I did a little seeking in the 12-step groups and in therapies because I wanted to know if there was someone like me who had some fucking answers for me. And there wasn't. There wasn't somebody with those experiences who had some peace because I knew what peace felt like. I had experienced it that in that 4 months with Thomas doing those steps. I knew that it was possible, but I didn't know if it was possible for me again. And I began seeking. And in 2015, my relationship with my wife failed completely because I was unfaithful and I treated her like a piece of property and I was controlling and narcissistic to those around me. The only things I gave a shit about were my daughter and tattooing. That's all I cared about. That my daughter thought she was rich and that I was a good tattoo artist. That was it. And that's not enough. And when Kristen threw me out, I found myself in the attic of my failed business with a pistol to my head. And I just hadn't slept in weeks. My resting pulse was 190 beats a minute. I had blacked out and beat somebody up. This drunk guy who's the triggers were still there, all these invisible triggers. My body remembered this drunk guy said he was going to rape the young girl behind me, just screaming drunk, being stupid. And I blacked out and beat this guy almost to death. And I'm
Mm,
not a tough guy. I'm not a fighter, dude. What your average human being can do to another human being is scary. It's scary. And I'm not safe. I blacked out sober. I'm 15 years sober and I'm doing this. I don't deserve to live. I don't deserve to live because my friend's dead and it's my fault. I don't deserve to live because I can't hold a good relationship. I can't run a business. I can't do these things. I can't. Everything happened to me. It's everyone else's fault. I'm the eternal victim in all of these circumstances and nobody understands. And you don't understand what it's like to be me because you haven't been me. So go fuck yourself. And that was my posture and it just wasn't working. So I found myself in that attic with that pistol in my head with my finger on the trigger, just wanting the pain to end. And I put it down and I called another veteran who had been doing really good, who had some rough stuff happen in Afghanistan. And he brought me to a program called Save a Warrior. And I went through the process of initiation and it saved my life. That was in the summer of 2015. I have not self harmed since I went through that process. I have
wow.
not been suicidal since I went through that process. It didn't make everything perfect, but it gave me a chance to start again. And I
Wow.
started again. I began meditating full time and put my broken life back together. And over the next decade, I participated in every form of self discovery, therapy, and personal development that I had an opportunity to because I knew that I needed to become the guy that I needed because he wasn't there. My mentor wasn't there, the one I really needed. So I got to become him and I became him. I became him. And today, man, I have 10 things that I practice on a regular basis that keep me level. The 5 pillars of self-care and the 5 pillars of servant leadership: eat, sleep, medical care and hygiene, exercise, and hobbies. Those are the 5 pillars of self-care. If I'm not standing on a table with 5 legs, I'm wobbly, right?
Mm.
My left foot is going to wobble. For my spiritual development and my spiritual care, I have the 5 pillars of servant leadership: service, study, affirmation, contribution, and acknowledgement,
Mm.
right? Above service somewhere, I'm constantly reading or listening to a podcast or studying something that is an idea that didn't originate from me. I'm giving a little bit of my money to a cause. These are predominant in all major
Right.
religions,
Right.
right? Acknowledging what is in my life, who is in my life, articulating to them or to myself what they mean to me, and affirmation. I'm saying out loud. Now, affirmation and prayer are pretty much the same thing, right? I might not think something's listening, but I'm still talking, right? So
Right.
if I declare today is a good day, I am at peace, I am worthy, I am enough, I am happy, I am enjoying this. I appreciate you, Coca-Cola. You're terrific. You got fizzies and you're sweet. I know you're probably not the healthiest thing, but I really like you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And practicing meditation on a regular basis.
So obviously, this part of your healing journey led you back into spirituality. And I know a lot of your story, people using the church for their own evil deeds, using that as a front. And I've heard so many stories of people coming out of trafficking that was somehow church affiliated, and it just
Mhm.
so
Well, I still don't really like
frustrating.
I really don't dig the extreme church today. I was at a wedding last year, sitting next to this dude, and he's somehow got brought up religion. He's a Christian, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't believe that way. I know there's something, and I'm good." He goes, "Well, you're going straight to hell." And my thought is, "Well, you're not God, bro. You don't know me. You don't know nothing about me. You don't obviously don't know nothing about God. Like, fuck off with your weirdo shit, you know." Like I don't dig the guilt message. I don't dig the fire and brimstone message. I don't dig the church. I don't go to church. I don't need a church. I don't read the Bible. Although the Bible, I believe some of it is from source energy, the same as you might read philosophy or spiritual principle. And people talk to me about forgiveness for a long time. And I'll ask people what forgiveness is, and they'll tell me what it's not. And they'll give me some shifty ass, fucked up answer that I don't understand, right? You're telling me to do something, and you don't know what the fuck it is you're telling me to do. Fuck you. Well, you just need to learn how to forgive. Forgive. It's like it never happened. I'm like, well, that's impossible that it never
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. I did a whole podcast episode, actually, as a two-parter on forgiveness, what it is, what it isn't,
Yeah.
how it can be helpful, it can be healing, but what it means, what it doesn't mean, and so forth. And then it was me talking, and then we had a panel discussion on it with several
I
survivors
started doing that
talking
too.
about
I,
it. And
I
yeah,
started talking about forgiveness with people.
yeah,
And I started asking people about it. I just put it in the front of my mind. I'm going to figure out what this thing is because I don't understand it. And
right,
most of the people I'm talking to, if I press them, they don't know what they're talking about either.
right. Yeah, forgive and
So,
forget isn't in the Bible. It's actually Shakespeare. But people will quote it. It's like, no, that's not
well,
true.
that's Republican Jesus. So
Yeah,
he's a white guy, looks a lot like you. So, anyways, I'm studying, and I did something brilliant. I did something that I had never thought of doing before, something unprecedented. I cracked open the dictionary and I looked at the word forgiveness. And what it said was to clear away resentment and discontinue revenge. And I was like, holy shit, it's been in the dictionary this whole time. And I felt such a relief.
that's actually a good definition. I like that.
I'm already doing it. If I don't punch myself, I'm not punishing myself, right? If I'm not in active resentment, I'm in forgiveness. And it's not something that's like getting married where you just do it and it's done, right? It's something to practice. It's something that I don't need to get perfect.
Right,
And it doesn't mean that pedophiles don't belong in prison.
right, exactly.
And
Yeah, I
most of
like,
the times I'd heard forgiveness. It was when I disclosed to somebody that had been molested, they're like, well, you need to learn how to forgive. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that just makes me angry.
right,
Whatever you
right.
just did there.
I like Oprah's definition of forgiveness. It's giving up the fact that the past cannot possibly change and giving up that pursuit and being able to move on and move forward.
And I can forgive people and not have them in my life.
Right.
But this
Exactly.
guy right here, this guy's in my life.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get to have some
Learning to forgive,
compassion.
learning to forgive yourself. Absolutely. Yes. For
I
everything that
get to have
happens. And that's hard.
for that abused, confused, lost, immature, bumbling, head full of voices, struggling 23-year-old that made a mistake. I get to have some compassion. So when I figured that out, after I looked in the dictionary, because we were talking about the Bible, I walked down my little pathway of my little beach house and got in my truck, and I got fucking like goosebumps from the top of my head all the way out my limbs. And I heard a voice like a lion say, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." It was a strong subjective experience of fatherly love. That was awesome. And when I got to the place where I was feeling good, I decided to start sharing my story with the world, because not everyone has the good fortune to make it and to receive the care, knowledge, and empowerment that I did, that I received. I mean, as a United States combat veteran, I have had access to so much support, so much support.
Right.
And I will never take that for granted. I will never forget, and I will never not value and want to pass on what I learned. And I believe that my journey could save people some time and help
Absolutely.
them achieve their own version of success sooner. So I decided to share it. And I spent the last 7 years or so writing, publishing, self publishing Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption.
Yes.
We're getting up there.
Links will be in the show notes.
We're getting up there in the charts on Amazon. Right
Excellent.
now, it's number 600 out of all memoirs on Amazon. It's gotten to be a bestseller in smaller categories, and it's not about those titles, but what those titles mean to me is that I am able to reach human beings who could benefit. And I feel so driven, so driven. I don't think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't believe that. I think that what doesn't kill you, and what makes you stronger makes you stronger. And if we say that, this bad things happened to you and it made you strong. No, dude, I had to become strong to survive them, right? And you're just negating all of the work that anybody's put in. So what, we should molest kids to make them strong? You fucking idiot. Is that what you're saying? But people just like these platitudes. But I use the same drive to put Angel Blue into survivors' hands as I use to survive a war, to get sober, to get off the street. I know how to do that. I know how to drive and push something and be steady and relentless. I know how to do that. I'm just beginning, dude. I'm just starting.
Wow. I know. Yeah, you got your book, you're on social media. Like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, you started coming up on my algorithm. Wow, was not expecting that.
But the thing is, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing this.
Yeah, it's creative, just like that tattooing is creative. It uses your creativity
Hmm.
to you're creating this thing. Just like this podcast is a huge creative outlet for me,
Yeah.
because it's not only there's a lot of paperwork and so forth for booking and scheduling and all that stuff, more red tape than anything, but then putting it out and editing and choosing things and so forth, and it's a wonderful outlet.
It's cool to have integrity.
It's this wonderful hobby. That's one of your things is hobbies on
Yeah.
your self-care.
But it's fun being one of the good guys, man. It's fun hitting the pillow at night, feeling tired, but it was good. I worked hard today. I showed up 100% my authentic self. And
And you're making an impact. Absolutely.
I love that. I love it. It's better than drugs.
And especially younger people who are so into social media are hearing that voice that says this is not okay, and it happens. And so many young men, young boys who, yeah, they are being perpetrated against by females, hearing that story. You mean you can talk about it? Yeah, exactly. But you're you, and coming from you, That is so impactful for someone who thinks that they're nobody. No one's going to believe me. Yeah, what is about me? But you have put your life together, and uh,
And I love my life, dude. I make
yeah,
art for a living. I live on the
right,
edge of the world in La Jolla, California, dude. The sunshine and the birds. I got a cool motorcycle. I have a beautiful wife. Like, my friends are so rad. The music sounds good, man. It's good.
yeah.
It's good.
Absolutely. And you're still making such an impact. I'm so thrilled. So you've got your social media, your book. What other things are you doing along with your tattooing career? Your TED Talk. We'll be looking out for that soon.
Yeah.
So what other things are you doing?
Right now, focusing on having a baby today. That's
Yeah.
going to be cool. And
Yeah.
how awesome is that to have a brand new, to give that boy everything I never had, everything I ever
Yeah.
wanted? A dad. He gets to have a dad and a mom. He gets to
Yeah.
have stability. He gets to have love and discipline. And I've learned so much from raising another child, like, he's stoked. He's a lucky kid, and I'm a lucky guy, and his mom's a lucky girl.
Right.
There's some things that I'm working on in the future. I'm going to write 2 more books. I'm not going to publish them myself, though, because self-publishing a book and doing it the right way is like building a car from parts at the auto store. It's really expensive and really difficult, and I'm not sinking that kind of capital into another book. It's going to be with a publishing company. I made friends with some heavy hitters up in San Bernardino, so I'll be going into their juvenile hall to speak.
Wow. Excellent.
I intend to have some more nonprofit stuff going with covering and removing human trafficking tattoos. I mean, eventually I'm going to buy the building where Thomas died, and it's going to be a sober bar on the bottom floor, and it's going to be tattoo and tattoo removal on the second floor. And it's going to be beautiful. I like having those goals and
Right.
working towards them, whether or not I get there, because the joy's in the journey, right?
Right.
And the
Oh,
question that I
absolutely.
get to ask myself, who do I need to become to do this thing? Not what do I need to do anymore. It's not what obstacles are in front of me. It's who do I need to become to be the person that does that. So it's an inside job. And it's gotten to a place where there's not so much horror anymore. It's still there, but the rest of the stuff is so big. The flashbacks still happen. I am not cured of PTSD. I'm not cured of depression and anxiety. I'm not cured of the internal voices that say bad things. But the other stuff, the tools I built, who I've become is bigger so that I'm more and I'm free. And I want other people to have that too. And it's fun helping them get there. It's
Yeah.
so awesome because it's like the young kids say satisfying, right? It's like putting that last puzzle piece in feels good. It
Right.
feels the same way. And I get to look out for myself and protect myself during the process and take care
Right.
of me. Practice all the
Absolutely.
things.
Right. And I know you're a voice for survivors, but I know we were both on the SOAP Project retreat for male survivors where we met. So honored to meet you.
You too,
And
brother.
you were there as a support for all of us, as I know
Hmm.
I was as well. I do want
Hmm.
to call you out because you were there for me. I was having a really bad day, and you came up and helped me just talk it out and listened. And you were really there for me. And so
You're my brother.
publicly, just wanted to say thank you. You were there when I needed you, and you were a supportive brother, and I'm so thankful that you were there for me. So absolutely, yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I'm so glad that you were a part of that, and so glad that I was able to meet you and see all this amazing stuff that you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. In closing, what final words of encouragement do you have for that survivor out there listening?
I see you. I hear you. I believe you. It did happen. It happened. And it was that bad. It was. You are valid. You are seen. And no matter what, no matter what, your life is a precious and priceless gift and worth fighting for. And there is joy ahead for you if you will step into the work and lean in. There is. I promise. I can't promise very many things, but I can promise you that. And the odds may be stacked against you like they were stacked against me, but that doesn't negate the human spirit and the individuals ability to fight and overcome.
Absolutely. Yes, profound truths. Thank you so much, Forrest, for being here and sharing your story and your wisdom and your journey today. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Healing for Male Survivors podcast. If you would like to learn more about my coaching with Polar Live Consulting, where I provide one-on-one coaching and group coaching, both with a focus on healing for male survivors, reach out to me at polarliveconsulting.com. That is Polar spelled P-O-L-A-R. I would love to hear from you. I want to hear your story. If you would like your story featured on this podcast, contact me via my website. If you like this podcast, please rate and review, because that's how other people can find me, and I really want to spread this message of healing and hope to others. And remember, you are not alone. Healing is possible, and the abuse was not your fault. Let me repeat that. The abuse was not your fault. See you next time on the Healing for Male Survivors podcast.